Good morning. Good morning. Good to see everybody here. Sandra, I'm glad you were able to come today. Good to see you. Becky, how's Marty doing?
He is still in bed. I didn't even talk to him this morning. I didn't wake him up.
I will say this though, I'm proud of him. He texted me on Friday night and said he wasn't going to come, so at least I got 24 hours notice this time, as opposed to one of the other times when he told me right before I was going into the Sunday school class that I had to preach today. So he's getting better.
That is because I told him to.
I appreciate it.
He didn't sound like crud last night when I talked to him too.
Yeah, he is very, very sick.
So we'll keep him in our prayers for sure. I think today's message can serve a lot of purposes. I'm going to ask some questions that I hope cause you to think deeply about some things. But I also want you to understand that it's not just me up here trying to talk down to you. Whenever I put a message together, it gets preached to myself first. And so I had to, ask myself all these questions first as I was going through this. And so, it's kind of changed the way that I look at some things. And I hope it can do the same for you. But the scripture for today is we're going to be in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 6 through 8. Here we go, it's on the screen. 2 Timothy chapter 4, we're going to do verse 6, 7, and 8. And this is Paul. He's writing to Timothy. And he says, "For I am already being poured out like a drink offering, and the time for my departure is near. I fought the good fight. I finished the race. I've kept the faith. Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day. And not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing." Let's pray. Father, I thank you for this day. I really do. I thank you for the good crowd that we have today. And I just pray that you be with those that can't be here. Please be with Marty as he tries to recover from this sickness. And I pray that you speak through me so that I can speak clearly, and that the message, today's message, will have the effect on the hearts that you want it to have, Lord. And we just give all the glory for you, and we are blessed that we have the opportunity to be here today. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. So in verse 6, he says, "For I am already being poured out like a drink offering, and the time for my departure is near." So again, this is Paul, and he's writing to Timothy. And basically what he's saying is that the time has come for him to die. He knows that he's about to be executed. So that's what I want you to think about. All right? Think about if you knew that you were about to die. What would be going through your mind? Would you be scared? Would you be at peace? Would you be thinking about the good memories that you shared with your families and your friends? Or would you be regretting some missed opportunities that you didn't share with loved ones because at the time you were too busy, or you thought that you would get around to it later and you never did? Would you be thankful of the fact that you took the chance to tell somebody that you love them, that you cared for them? Would you take the time to, be like, I know that I messed up, and I want to let you know that, I'm sorry for what I did to you, for something that I did? Or again, would you be upset at the fact that, an important relationship in your life was never repaired because maybe you were too prideful to apologize for something, or that you never forgave someone for something that they might have done to you? So the first question that I want you to consider is that if you knew that you only had a short time left to live, would you be living your life any differently than you are now? And I think it's a very important question because it forces us to focus and determine what are our priorities. How many things can we think of that, we spend a lot of time doing and really they're not important at all in the grand scheme of things? How many hours do we just waste away in front of the TV or the computer or the cell phone? Now, I don't want to ask for a raise of hands, but if you're being honest with yourself, I'm sure everybody in here could pick something that they spend a lot of time doing that maybe we're putting too much of a priority on and it's really not that important. I know I do. Kimber's not here, but if you were to ask her, she would tell you that I spend too much time on Twitter. And I do. Like, I just, I've gotten better. Like I said, when I put this message together, it forced me to think about things. So I don't waste as much time as I used to, but, I would just sit there constantly. We would have a conversation, and then she would have to use the restroom or something, or she'd have to do something else. And as soon as we stopped talking, I'd pick up my phone and I'm going through Twitter. And then we would never even get to the point to where we would finish the conversation that we had started, because now I was distracted by something dumb I was looking at on my cell phone. And it's really dumb, I'm telling you. It was news about Georgia Bulldogs. Who was the next recruit going to be? What did one of the coaches or what did one of the players have to say about the game they just had, or the game that was coming up? I mean, if I'm going to be honest, I was probably spending at least an hour every day that was just wasted on the cell phone. Think about all the other things I could have been doing instead. Right? Now, you got the obvious answers. I could have been taking that hour, and what if I was reading the Bible instead? Or what if I was in prayer? But even if I wasn't doing that, there would have been something else useful, productive that I could have been doing instead of just wasting time. That's literally what it is. It's just wasting time. One of the saddest things that I see, and I see it a lot, is say you go out to a restaurant and you see a family. Okay, you got mom, you got dad, you got the kids, and the way things are today, everyone's really busy with their own schedule. There's not too often of a time where everybody can be together. But instead of taking that time and then spending that time together and talking with each other and enjoying that fellowship, nobody's saying anything because everyone's just got their face in their phone the whole time. And I've been guilty of that. But that's what I want us to think about, okay? I can remember one time, and this was a long time ago, this was probably 16, 17 years ago. My family went out to dinner after church, and we were sitting in the restaurant. And there was this man and this woman, and they were sitting in a table kind of across from us. And I don't know the extent of their relationship. I don't know if they were husband and wife. I don't know if they were boyfriend, girlfriend, brother, sister. Could have just been friends. I don't know. But the waiter came over and he took their order, and then as soon as the waiter left, the guy, and they're probably in their 30s, he gets up and he goes and plays in the arcade and just leaves the lady sitting there by herself. And I'm sitting here, I was probably 12 or 13 years old, and even at that time, I'm like, he was too old to be doing that. Like, what is he doing? He was over there, and he was in the arcade playing games, and she's just sitting there. She didn't even have a cell phone to be looking at. She was just sitting there by herself for like a whole 15 minutes where they were waiting on the food to come out. And he was actually, I was watching him, he was playing the video game. It's called The Golden Tee. Tyler, do you know what that is? Probably a little bit before your time. Some of y'all might know what it is, but it's like this big console game, and almost like, one of those old school Pac-Man games, or that game where that little ship goes across the bottom and shoots the little things up, and I don't even know what you call that. Battleship. Okay, there you go. But what it is this game, and it's this golf game, and it's got this, it's like this ramp. It's almost like it looks right here. It's got this little ball that sits in the middle of it, almost like if you look at one of those old computer mouses, and it would have that little ball on the bottom that rolls around. And what you do is you swipe the ball, and then whatever direction and how hard you swipe that ball, that's how far that the golfer will hit the ball on the game. And some people are more competitive than others. Like if I was playing that game, I would just stand there and just kind of hit the ball like that, no big deal. Well, you get some people that really get into it, and so they'll back way up, and they'll get a running start to come up and just slam it as hard as they can to try to crush like a super long drive on the video game. But you also get people, and this is my favorite part, this is why I got to tell the story. They get way back And they try to come up and crush it. And as they run up and they hit it, they go too low. And they end up crushing their hand on the front of the thing. Now, you've heard the thing, something's only funny until somebody gets hurt, and then it's hilarious. That situation definitely applies to that. But that story, it made a big impact on me because I remember it so many years later. As a 12-year-old, I was like, that dude should be spending time with her. Like, what are they doing? I'm not fussing at you, but I want us to think about this. What are our priorities? If we knew that our time with loved ones was going to run out, how would we spend that remaining time? You don't know when your time is up. In James chapter 4, verse 14, he says, "Why, you don't even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. So make the most of your time while you're here." In fact, Jesus tells us what we should focus on. He tells us what our priorities should be. In Matthew chapter 22, verse 37, he says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind." He says this is the first and the greatest commandment. And the second is like it, to love your neighbor as yourself. So there's two things that are important. It's God and it's other people. That's what's important. I don't want to be morbid, but we talked about this in Sunday school last week. Death is something that will impact every one of us, whether it's ourselves or those that we love. It's not something you can just stick your head in the sand and pretend like it's not going to happen, because it will happen. It's very real, and we will experience in some form or fashion. When that time comes for you, do you want to have that sense of peace, knowing that you lived your life to the fullest? Did you nurture your relationship with Jesus Christ so that it could be all that it could be? Or did you not? Go ahead and think about it now. What will your time on earth be like? Will it be time well spent, or will it be wasted? Moving on in verse 7, he says, "I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, and I have kept the faith." I want to tell you something important and true, and I don't think a lot of people, they come to understand this, but I don't think they think about it when they first make that decision to say, I'm going to be a Christian, I'm going to follow Jesus Christ, I'm going to be involved with the church. And that is that the Christian life is not easy or convenient. The Christian life is a lifestyle of itself that everything else should revolve around. Every choice that you make, every decision that you make should be based off what we're taught in the Bible. And then as we grow, we get more of this spiritual discernment. The more that we get led by the Holy Spirit, He will tell us how to handle certain situations if you listen to Him. That's how you need to approach every situation. The Christian life is more than just this 2-hour time frame where every Sunday morning we show up and you come to Sunday school, then you go to church, and then you walk out the door and you don't even think about it again until it's time for the next week to come back. I talked about it the last time that I preached. We talked about the fruits of the Spirit and the desires of the world. Okay, they're contradictory. You have to choose one or the other. I mean, to sit here and say that you're going to be a Christian, but yet you only act like a Christian for 2 hours, and then every other aspect of your life doesn't go along with that. I mean, you're making yourself useless to God. You're not giving Him anything that He can use to work with to help accomplish His will, His agenda. So the second question I want to ask you is, who are you living for? Okay? Are you living for Jesus, or are you living for yourself? Paul makes the analogy in verse 7 where he says, I have finished the race. So I thought it would be a good idea. Maybe I could do some research and figure out what are some challenges that people who are running a race might experience. And then is there a way where I can connect that, make connections with the same challenges that a Christian might face going through our life? Now, I'm a track coach, but I hate running. I don't run, I know, it's funny, it's kind of weird, but it's true. I don't run, I don't want to run, I don't ever want to run. At track practice, I tell all the kids what they have to go do, and then I stand in my little corner of the field to stop watching the clipboard and just yell suggestions at them, and I don't want no part of it. So when I had to look up some struggles that a runner's going to go through, I had to go to Google, because I have no personal experience with this. I tell my students all the time in school, I say, I don't know the answer, ask Professor Google, he knows everything, talk to him. But the first struggle that a runner will face, and we're talking about a long run, like a marathon, okay, is that you'll begin to experience a dry mouth, you'll feel weak, and you'll fall off pace. So when I read that, I said, okay, well, this to me sounds like people that, you know, they come up front, they're on fire for the Lord, they want to do all this, they want to be involved with everything going on at church, and they're really gung-ho about it. But then after a while, they start to fall off pace. All right, these are the people that, you know, something's going to come up, so they'll miss church once a month. And then once a month turns into twice a month, and then 3 times a month. And then before you know it, you don't even see them anymore. I think we all know people like that. So who are those people living for? The second struggle that a runner who's running a marathon will experience is that you become overwhelmed by all the miles that you have to cover. So basically, where do you start? Okay, this is going to be such a long process. I mean, what's the point of even really getting into it? Like, it's never going to be over with. But we know that as Christians, it's a lifelong process. And we also know that there's a process of sanctification where every day we are supposed to become more and more and more Christ-like than we were the day before. And Marty's talked about this a lot, so I don't have to spend a lot of time on it. But we should always be striving to improve. Okay? There's things in all of our lives that we know that we need to get cleaned up. And some things are easier than others. He calls it the low-hanging fruit. Okay? The low-hanging fruit would be the things that are obvious. Okay, I know that I shouldn't be hanging out doing this stuff with these people. I know I don't need to be watching this thing on TV. I know I don't need to be looking at this on the computer. Easy things, like obvious. Knock those out first. And then you're going to keep getting through more and more and more tougher things in your life that have to get cleaned up. But you can do that. So always be improving. Don't be overwhelmed by everything that you have to do. Start with one thing. You don't have to start with everything at the same time. You can't do everything at the same time. The third struggle is that your hamstrings, your quads, and your calves will start to hurt, and you begin telling yourself that this is impossible. So when I thought about this, the first thing that came to my mind was stumbling blocks. Okay? As Christians, we know that there are going to be stumbling blocks or things that pop up that will get us to stumble, to try to distract us from keep moving forward like we know we're supposed to move forward. And I told this to the Sunday school class today. I actually tell you this to encourage you, but Satan's not going to waste his time on those he already has where he wants them. He's going to be coming at the people who he sees as threats. So if he's coming at you, you know you're doing something right. Okay? I'm listening to an audio book right now by Tony Evans. I love listening to Tony Evans. He's a great preacher, great speaker, great writer. And it's called Kingdom Man. And it's about, he goes through and he tells, you know, what are the qualities of a man who would be a kingdom man, or a man who is living for the kingdom of God. And he talks about, you know, what does it mean to be a real man for your family? What does it mean to be a real man for those that you work with? You know, how do you be a real man and set a good example for anybody who falls within your realm of influence, however big or little that is? And one of the things he says, and this actually applies whether you're man, woman, child, doesn't matter. If you're anybody who is, you know, like a soldier for Jesus Christ, he says, you need to be the type of person that when your feet hit the floor in the morning, when you roll out of bed and your feet hit the floor, the devil says, oh crap, they're up. Think about it. You know, that was powerful to me because I agree with it. And then finally, the last struggle that a runner will face is that the end is near but you're exhausted and you're ready to stop. Are you going to finish the race? Are you going to endure? It's not always easy, but it's definitely worthwhile. Jenny, we go to the next verses, please. All right, this is Paul who's writing to Timothy and talking about a struggle. Paul finished the race, but look what he had to go through. Okay, this is in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 24 through 27. And I know it's kind of small, so if you can't read that, I'll read them to you. You can listen. But this is Paul talking about all of the sufferings and the struggles that he went through. And starting in chapter 11, verse 24, he says, 5 times I received from the Jews the 40 lashes minus 1. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was pelted with stones. 3 times I was shipwrecked. I spent a night and a day in the open sea. I've been constantly on the move. I've been in danger from rivers, in dangers from bandits, in danger from my fellow Jews, in danger from Gentiles, in danger in the city, in danger in the country, in danger at sea, and in danger from false believers. I've labored and toiled and have often gone without sleep. I've known hunger and thirst and have often gone without food. I've been cold and naked. So you think your life is hard? I mean, yeah, we all have problems. We all have these things that come up and will pop this little comfort bubble that most of us live in. I get that. But if Paul can go through all this, we can make it through the stuff that we have to go through. Now, we can't do it on our own. You don't have to do it on your own. God will help you get through it, but you have to let him help you. In Galatians chapter 6, verses 8 and 9, he says, whoever sows to please the flesh, from the flesh will reap destruction. Whoever sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. And then Philippians 4:13, I think most people are familiar with that, but I can do all this through him who gives me strength. Not I can do all this by myself, I don't need him. No, you can do it with him. And then in 2 Chronicles chapter 15, verse 7, it says, but as for you, be strong and do not give up, for your work will be rewarded. So again, no, most of the time the Christian life is not easy and it's not convenient, but take comfort in the fact that it is rewarding, which leads us to the last verse. In 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8, he says, now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day. And not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing. So I think this last point is very quick. It's very to the point. But it's going to be so worth it if we can finish our race. Think about what's waiting for you at the finish line. It's going to be so much better than anything we could even come close to experiencing here on earth. Now, surprisingly, you might talk to some Christians and they might tell you, yeah, I believe in Jesus and yeah, I'm ready to go to heaven, but I'm not really ready for him to come back right now. Like, I got things going on pretty good. Might have a good job, might have a good relationship, might be making pretty good money, like, things are pretty good here. But if someone honestly believes that, and they really just have a misunderstanding, like a complete misunderstanding. That's not the attitude of someone like Paul says. Paul says, but also to those who are longing for his appearing. The word longing, it means it's a strong, persistent desire. It's a craving. All right? Are you craving for the Lord to come back? Is that all you desire? Is that all you can think about to where above all else? Is that what you just can't wait when that moment comes? So the last question is just, are you ready to meet the Lord? What are you waiting on? The fact that you're still here on earth, you have the ability to be here, to sit in these pews, to be in church. If you haven't accepted Jesus as your Savior, then you're honestly like one of the luckiest people in the world that you still have the chance to make that decision. Okay? Don't waste the time that you have left, which it could be 50 years. It could be 30 minutes. You could be in a car accident when you walk out of these doors and go to lunch. Don't waste the time you have left by focusing on things that aren't important. Pray every day that you'll grow in your relationship with the Lord and that He'll be able to develop you. And He will if you let Him. I pray that your heart becomes aligned with His will. That the things that He wants become the things that you want. The time that we have left, rearrange your priorities so that every desire, everything that you have to give can be effective and it can be productive for the Lord. So, what are your priorities? Who are you living for? And are you ready to meet it? Think about those three things. Let's pray. Father, again, I just thank you for this day, and I know the message, it wasn't a long one, but I hope it was effective, that it was good for people to hear, to really consider these things. Lord, we don't know how much time that we're going to have left on this earth, so we need to make it as worthwhile as possible for you and be all that we can be for you. And just please be with us as we go throughout our week. Help us to be the lantern that carries your light, the light of Jesus Christ, so that other people can see it. And we just pray that we are effective for you, Lord, and that we become more and more like Jesus every day. And we thank you so much for the sacrifice that you gave us through your Son, Jesus Christ. We ask this in His name. Amen.